What's up, everybody? My name is Robin Ayers of the Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580, and I am here with Chris Gunther on the Chris Gunther Show.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Chris Gunther Show. Thank y'all so much for watching. Remember to like and share this video. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all of your support. It means a lot. If you've been following me, you know that back, I want to say it was in June of 2023, I was on social media and I had noticed that this entertainment contributor who actually has her own show, she had called some people out respectfully, and I left a comment under there. And little did I know that with me leaving that comment, it would open up the door to me to join her show as an entertainment contributor. Without any further ado, the Chris Gunther Show officially welcomes Miss Robin Ayers of the Raw Report. What's going on with you, Robin?
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure to be on the other side now. And I've been rocking with you ever since. So I appreciate that one comment that led to all of this. So thank you for having me.
I appreciate you just for being you. You know, you do such an amazing job. You hit on so many amazing topics, and I'm sure that, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane here. But, how excited are you to be back with the Rob Report?
Man, I love the Raw Report so much because, as you know, I have named, or someone gave me the name, all of my squad, all of our supporters and listeners, the Raw Squad. And I've been missing everybody and I've been missing the show. So it feels really, really good to be back.
You've been working really hard to get it off the ground, and you have connected with so many amazing people, and I just love to see the kind of work that you do. What made you even want to start production on the Raw Report?
Well, if you know, and I'm sure you're professional, so you've done all of your work, but I've been doing everything other than radio for over a decade now. So all the entertainment stuff I was doing, red carpets, doing press junkets, doing all the interviews. I have been working with different outlets, the Jasmine brand, EUR Web, had been a contributor myself on shows like Fox Soul. So I had done a lot of things on camera. And so I had the background and I had the ability to start doing radio. But I met someone once. He's a big name in radio. He said, you have a great voice. You ever thought about doing radio? And I said, hadn't really thought about it because, I'm more of a on camera girl. All the things that I was doing, I was very used to that. And he said, he was like, you should try radio. And he said, as a matter of fact, do you know Tavis Smiley just started a radio station and it had been less than a year old. He said, you should reach out. He said, some of my former colleagues are over there. And a few of the names that he mentioned, I was familiar with, and I had known them from previous engagements. So I reached out to Dominique DePrima, whom I love. She's a broadcast journalist, goddess. She is so great, especially here in LA. She's been doing her thing for a long time. But I reached out to her and she was like, you know what? I think this would be great. So she's the one who kind of got the ball rolling for me with Tavis. And having no radio experience at all, he invited me to come in. And I'd sat for a year as a contributor myself on 9 p.m. to midnight show with Danny Morrison. And I just learned the ropes. I just sat there and contributed every night. But in that time, I was just like, okay, what is this radio thing all about? Who's this? And how do you do that? And sound of radio, cadence of radio, all of that. And after 1 year of being there, I was so blessed to be promoted by Tavis to host my own show. So then the Raw Report came about and here we are.
The Raw Report has become a favorite on KBLA too, I might add. You got people tuning in every day and everyone loves your topics, but they love what you bring to it. And how are you able to stay so fresh, especially with a 24-hour news cycle that is constantly changing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It does take work. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. My show is 1 hour. I mean, it's 1 hour daily. It's a 1 hour daily show. So you would think like, oh, that's it. Like you just get to work for 1 hour and and then roll up out of there. No, it is really not that. It is very much, I'm always, and I have to balance it out though, Chris, to be honest with you. I have to make sure that I live my real life at home with my family, do the other things that I do, as well as stay, abreast of what's going on in the news. So I just make sure that I'm paying attention to things that I know my listeners would want to listen to. So I use different news outlets. It's not just social media, it's everything. And I want to talk about things that affect our community and things that are happening, but that we can sort of extrapolate the real content, the meat and potatoes out of certain things that are happening that could better our community. So, I mean, my wheels are always turning for sure. They're always going, and I'm just trying to figure out how to stay current, but how to really most of what it is just the energy, and then talking with contributors like you, who are great and well informed and articulate and can carry on a conversation to make this train move. That's what it's really all about.
You had hit on something that I felt was, extremely important, making sure that you still have balance because we all know it's easy to burn out when you're constantly working. You're trying to figure out, okay, I want to hit on this. I want to talk about this. I want to interview this person. And you
Mhm.
do get burnt out, but you had hit on it right on the nail. I still have to be a human. I still have to balance. How are you able to stay balanced, especially with the kind of field that you're in and the kind of work that you do?
To be honest with you, I feel like, especially with entertainment and sports and things that are always like always going on, it's like 24/7. Um, I feel like anybody who chooses to get into this field is going to not burn out, but you're gonna grind at one point. You're gonna do whatever you can to get on. You're gonna do whatever you can to be the best. You are gonna do whatever you can to dethrone anybody else who's there. So so I can't say that, oh yeah, I've learned the ropes and I've arrived. It's not that. I've had my time of grinding, hardcore, like getting to the business. I've done the whole stay up for 24 hours, stay up and did not sleep and watch the sunrise because I'm working or teaching myself something. I'm editing, I'm sending out emails, I'm connecting with the people who I know. And I want to be clear. I want to be very clear about this. Just because you may know people, you may have people's phone numbers and you've known these people for years, it doesn't mean that things are going to be easier for you. Sometimes I've had to forfeit certain relationships to do bigger or better things and try to utilize these people later on. I'm also the type of person who I don't like to it's weird, but I don't like to call in favors from people. I never
Mhm.
want anybody to think that I'm using them or trying to, I just don't like to be in that position. So what I've wanted to do is grind my way and earn my way to where I am rather than utilizing all of the people that I know so that I can gain respect. But back to the question about balance, I've done all of that before. And so now I can say, having gotten to a certain place of contentment, I'm not at my end, but I'm at a certain place of contentment. And having been here, I know that it's now about self-care. It's now about making sure that that's not everything. You cherish home, you cherish, family, and again, taking care of yourself. So I think you got to go through that grind type of phase before you get to a place of realizing, okay, balance is important here.
People like us, that describes us perfectly because we're willing to put the work in. You're
Mhm.
willing to do whatever is necessary. And sometimes it is not the most popular thing. It certainly has been,
Facts.
times when you're going to be the most understood and people are going to assume things about you. And at that point, you just got to say, you know what? I'm going for mine. I don't care about the
Yeah.
perception of others. Because I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And you have done that throughout your entire career. Let's take it back a little bit. What made you even decide to go into this media space, get into this media space rather?
Yeah. It just came by happenstance. It was honestly a blessing. I used to work as an intern for the Norwood family. Started with Sonia Norwood and Willie Norwood and their children, Brandy and Ray J. But I was really up under Sonia Norwood, and she was just teaching me a lot of things about business. And as I was there in the offices, Ray J used to have a very popular TV show called For the Love of Ray J. It was like #1 on VH1. One of the
Danger.
producers,
She smashed the homies. I'm sorry. I had to,
I'm
man.
sure
I had to. I had to. That was my
it's
favorite
a
episode. I'm sorry. It was.
great, great, great show. And a shout out to all of the Norwoods. I love them. They're still family to me. Um, but so he had done that successfully, and as a result had continued to do different shows and things like that. He had great connections, and one of his partners, his producing partners, is named Jojo Ryder. And Jojo came into the office one day, and he didn't know me. We didn't know each other. Um, we connected, and I didn't, he was very young, very young. He was, I think Jojo is even younger than I am, but he, he was so knowledgeable, and we just connected. We sat there and connected about a lot of things. He began to, he wouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. He began to sort of mentor me about a lot of the things about film and television, and we connected. And one day he just reached out to me. He said, "Hey, do you think you can interview Keith Sweat?" And I'm like, he said, "Do you know who Keith Sweat is?" And I'm like, absolutely. Like, I grew up on Keith Sweat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Forever. Keith Sweat to forever. He said, "Okay, great. Can you interview him?" And I had never interviewed anybody a day in my life. I said, "I've never done this, JoJo, but yeah." He said, "Okay, great. Just go to Google, study up on, create some questions." And this was going to be for a documentary that was going to be on, I think HBO or Showtime rather. And so I did that. I went to Google, and I just tried to figure out, what I could ask Keith Sweat. Soon enough, maybe a couple of days later, I was in front of, it was a big production, by the way. So Keith Sweat is sitting there, we meet, he's sitting there up against the green screen, and I'm sitting here, and I'm not on camera, but I'm on the side of the camera. You know how you've seen documentaries like that. And I'm
Absolutely.
asking questions of him, and I'm getting great reactions from him. And we sat there for a couple of hours just going at it. And it was right after that was done, the cameraman, he starts, breaking down it was a whole production. So all the cameramen, they're breaking down. And one of the guys, he says, "How long have you been doing this?" And I said, "This is my very first one." He was like, "Yeah," he said, you got something here." He was like, "You really gotta do this." And maybe a couple of weeks later, if that, JoJo called me again to interview Magic Johnson. And sure enough, I was petrified, but I was like, "I'm gonna do it. Who's not gonna speak to Magic Johnson? I'm gonna go there
Right.
and do it, right? I'm a boss up and do it." So sure enough, excuse me, I had gone and done my research and had the same reactions from Magic Johnson. And I'm off camera at this point, still did the same type of interview as Keith Sweat. But it was that interview where I felt like, where I believed I could do this. I believed it. So right after that, I was like, "Okay, this is it. This is what I want to do." And I just began to pursue it from there. I did know some people, so I sat down with a couple of friends of mine. I have another, he's like a brother to me, another friend who has a big production company, and he came to just film it. Did a two-person, two-camera interview with a couple of people. One of them was Willie Norwood, who I had already been working with in the office, and the quality was amazing. The interview was amazing. And I put that out on, and remember, I'm brand new to this. So I didn't know what to do. I was just like, "Okay, let me just put it out on YouTube or, Vimeo." And I put it out. And it was right after I put it out, Brandy hit me up. And we weren't really close at that time. Brandy
Hmm.
wasn't, she wasn't in the office all the time. She was more at home doing the creative stuff.
Right.
And but she reached out to me, and she said, "I saw what you did with my dad." And she said, "I want to be a part of, I see what you're doing, and I want to be a part of it." She was like, "Do you want to interview me?" I'm like, "Brandy,
Nobody's gonna tell her no.
nobody's gonna tell Brandy now." So, you know, we orchestrated this interview. We went to her house, set up, did this incredible interview, and Brandy has been then and to this day, she has been an angel in my life, and she has believed in me from the very beginning, and she helped promote that interview, and it went viral. I mean, she's got millions of followers, obviously, and as a result of that interview, so many people found me, but that also kind of helped put me on the map. So that's the beginning story of how I got involved in media.
Man, to hear that, number one, is very inspiring
Mhm.
because being in the right place at the right time and having somebody, in a sense, look out for you, because we all know it's very hard for us to get ahead. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's no amount of dial soap that can wash off the color of your skin,
Mm,
and you work very hard. And like, even though I am not a woman, I respect women so much because, in a sense, you guys have to work twice as hard to get like a fraction of the credit. So for
mhm,
you to, continue to persevere and to see what you were able to do with that. And, I was also inspired when I do my research, and I seen all the press junkets and red carpets that you were on, and I was loving it because you had some amazing people on there, but your confidence never wavered. Even though you
mm.
said I'm still kind of new to it, your confidence didn't waver, and that just continued to catapult you. Where do you feel that you got that confidence from?
Um, that sort of dates back to because just becoming comfortable in my skin. Again, when I first started doing on-camera work, I had to get past looking at myself and looking at myself on camera. And I think to a certain degree, we all do it. You listen to yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, do I sound like that? And do I look like that? And are those my isms? Is that what I do? And people, we all have to kind of get past ourselves and then realize it's not about me, even though that's what we pay attention to. You're looking at yourself. How good of a job am I doing, or how do I look on camera doing these interviews? Um, so I feel like I was terrible in the very beginning. I felt like I really was horrible. But at the end of the day, I'm a conversationalist and I love people. I really, really love people. And that, to me, my confidence has built more in that. And what I realize is now the cameras and the microphone and the stations and all of that is just a conduit. You're just there, and I'm bringing you in as I'm having this real life conversation with this wonderful soul, this human being, and anybody can have confidence in that. You get what I'm saying? So it becomes a little bit easier as you just do away with all the cameras and mics and all that stuff.
We have very similar backgrounds because we're very similar. You were in radio and I was in radio. And I remember one of my first times being on camera, I did have somebody, in a sense, tell me the same thing. Like, yeah, are you sure this your first time? Because you're just kind of a natural with it. That has to feel amazing to know that you have people who are big names tell you something along the lines of you're a natural, you have this gift, and your gift will continue to make room for you. But not only that, but it will continue to allow you to open up doors for others. You're on KBLA, which is I believe, one of the only black owned radio stations in the entire country. That
Mhm.
has to feel a very special, like, that has to feel special to you, just from the standpoint of when you understand the history of us and you understand the history of how hard it was for us to even get our foot in the door. But now here we are starting to control our own narrative. For you, as somebody that is able to change the narrative on a lot of things, what do you feel is your most important role now in this season?
That's a great question. And I believe that just even over the past few years, I've been very intentional about paying more attention to my role in society. And it becomes very easy when you're doing this type of work, entertainment especially, the glitz and the glam, the lights and all the people who are enamored with the other people you're talking to on a daily basis. It begins to be a little um it's I don't wanna use the word pretentious, but the business of entertainment can be pretentious, and you can fall into that trap of just thinking this is what it's all about, right? Like, okay, this is what my life is. It's just knowing these people, hanging out with these people, talking to these people. And it was, a couple of years ago when I first met Tavis. Um, I started listening to the radio station. And if you listen to KBLA 1580 from not that anybody has the time to do this, but if you check in at any point in the day, because it's 24 hours, 7 days a week, if you check in at any point, the people on this station are really smart. They're really intelligent people.
Absolutely.
And I'm honored to be amongst those people and to be considered one of those who can come in and hold my own when it comes to not just entertainment, but how do you talk smart entertainment? But to go back, um, I began to sort of reevaluate what my role is in life and realize that this entertainment thing, I don't want to just get stuck in that box, even though that's my background and even what I do now. It's about knowing about your current events. It's about knowing what's going on nationally and locally and politically, and not only that, but just our role in our community. So, what can we do? What are you doing with your time, with your platform, with your voice, with your influence? What are you doing to help move us forward as a people? So I had just begun to think about that, and it's in every single step of the way. I feel like everything that we do is just a piece of puzzle to the big picture, right? So everything that I've done thus far has helped me to realize where I am now. That's my role. That's my purpose, is to be better for our community and to be an advocate of Black people, to be an advocate of women, to be and even men. To be honest with you, I love Black men. I love Black men. I am a champion of Black men. I root for you. Because I have a brother who was killed 13 years ago,
Hmm.
and when I look at Black men and all the struggles and things that you all go through, I think immediately back to my own brother, and I'm like, yeah, I feel that same way. I feel that same connection to all Black men. So, really, it's been an evolving sort of process for me, but I'm so happy where I am now, and I know that it's evolving even more. But it feels really good to be where I am now and look at life with the lens that I do, and just try to be a proponent, through KBLA, just to be a proponent of Black people.
You also have to give yourself a lot of credit in that regard too, because KBLA just ain't hiring anybody. They're not
Mhm.
just allowing anyone to come on and have a 1 hour show weekly. And they're also not just going to trust somebody and say, all right, you can pick your own contributors to come on. And I think one of the coolest things that you have been able to accomplish is opening the door for others. That's
Mhm.
one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on here, was because as many times as you've had me on your show, I felt it was only right that I paid it forward and just tell you thank you. Of course, I've told you this more than once, but coming from where I come from, very small town, not a lot of people make it out, and it's in a sense sometimes it's like a crabs in a bucket mentality. But to continue to push and to persevere, and then a little comment on a social media app got
Mhm.
me to become an entertainment contributor. And I just want to tell you thank you, because that definitely meant a lot to me.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And you know what? When I shared the story about Brandy hooking me up and Jojo Ryder, who's the person who originally put me in this game, he put me in front of two huge names to interview them. That was their way of paying it forward. So who would I be if I didn't take a look at that and say, you know what, now that I've gained some sort of traction, that I have some sort of platform, and I'm still going, but now that I have this, how could I not look back and say, not even back, like I've mentioned this to you before, I feel like we're all colleagues, we're all peers, we're no one in particular is better than the other. We should all look at each other and collaborate and say, hey, um, I see you too. You might see me, and that's great. And I know you contribute to my life and my platform and my work, but I want to contribute to yours as well, because we are peers. And I think that that's what it's about. And yeah, this year specifically, there are a lot of people who've reached out to me in the past who've said, Robin, I want to interview you, or they just want to get involved somehow. And it's not that I'm going to open my arms or my doors to anyone, because you have to have some sort of something that you see. It's got to be something in a talent, or um fortitude. You've been putting in work, or I have to see something. But there are a lot of people out here who are working and a lot of people who just need someone to say yes. So I decided, you know what? I can say, yeah, that's easy. I can say yes, and I want to be a blessing to other people as well. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep continue to do it. Like I want to, as long as my show exists and everything in the future that I end up doing, of course, I'm gonna continue to open my arms and my doors to other people.
Definitely have been a blessing to me. I've enjoyed our convo. Couple quick last questions because I understand you're a busy woman. You got stuff to do. You got to get back to being the queen of talk radio, all that good stuff. I know I gave you that title a little while. I'm gonna keep on saying it because it's the truth. I said it and I meant it.
I
Okay.
appreciate you, Chris.
Who who would probably be your top 5 celebrities that you've chopped it up with? I,
Ooh,
I
Brandy
know,
number one.
absolutely. But I know she in there.
Uh-huh. She's definitely been incredible. I would say Brandy, Will Smith was great. Morris Chestnut, because I feel like he's just a real extremely cool, down to earth guy.
Absolutely.
Um, I'll put Good. That's a great question. I've just run into so many people, but Anthony Anderson is just funny. But I've known Anthony Anderson for over 20 years of my life. Like we're actual friends in real life. And so whenever I've interviewed him, it's just like but he's fun. He's a great, funny guy. So,
Oh
he's
yeah.
probably in there. But honestly, and you may not expect this, but I had the opportunity to sit down and just I feel like it's sitting at the feet, but I was just sitting next to um, the incomparable late great Sidney Poitier. And I
Mm-hmm.
sat down with him and it was a blessing. Someone wound up taking a video of us, or excuse me, a photo of us as I'm sitting here like this, just listening to the man. I was just like, oh my God, just feed me, tell me, what an incredible opportunity to just sit at the feet of that man. And he just gave me nuggets and welcomed me. And he said, let's take a picture. And, so we had an opportunity to do that as well. So I don't know if that was five. Was that five? I mean,
That was 5. That was
okay. All
5.
right. Good, good, good. Yeah.
I did an interview with Kadeem Hardison a couple years ago, and I think it was actually the day that Sidney Poitier had passed away. And Kadeem had actually shared his story about Sidney Poitier. And I kind of was, as you were telling yours, I had a flashback to him. You guys, in a sense, did the exact same thing because he was like, man, he was just such a wealth of knowledge and such a
Mm,
wealth of wisdom. And, he wanted to impress him. And, I think that is one of the coolest things to know that you in your position were able to be around such legends, the kings
yeah.
and queens like Brandy and Sidney Poitier. But
Mm,
just think, one day somebody's gonna say, "Man, I'm glad that I was finally able to sit down with Robin Ayers."
mm.
Just saying.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a beautiful thought, really. I mean, and I hope I really hope that to be true one day, but not because I am um I just hope that people feel welcomed, and that I made people feel like they're seen and make people feel like they are just as great and that they are empowered to do the whatever's on their path to do. Because sometimes you have a path. We all do. We all have a journey, but sometimes we get stuck in this place. And what I hope to do is just be an example of how you can push past all the trials and the tribulations, and you can still push past it and make it to your destination. And I just hope to empower other people to feel the same way. So I hope that's why they feel like they were graced to be in my presence. Like, oh, she's cool.
More than cool in my book. That's what I'm going to tell you. Before we go ahead and jump out of here, can you go ahead and give the people your social media handles and how we can support and how we can follow you?
Absolutely. And thank you again so much for having me on, Chris. I truly appreciate that you just want to spend some time with little old Robin Ayers. But speaking of Robin Ayers, definitely you can find me on my daily radio show, The Rob Report, from 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's on KBLA 1580, the app, or if you're in LA, you can tune into the station, whatever you prefer. But also it's just Robin Ayers on all of my social media platform. Go ahead and find me. Go ahead and look it up. Yeah, that's what I tell everybody. I'm chilling on the Chris Gunther show. I just so appreciate you again, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Before we jump out of here, and if you've been following my show, all of my audience and everybody pretty much knows the question I'm about to ask. So here we go. I always ask my guests this: who would you like to see me interview on the Chris Gunther show? And if you have any contact, do you think you can help a young brother out? Shoot or shoot, that's what we do.
Mm, really good question. I'll say this though, before I come up with the person, I feel like you would be so great interviewing anybody. I feel like you wouldn't drip a sweat, talking to anybody. I love to see you in deep conversation with sort of a politician like Obama or someone like that. I'd love to see something like that because you hold weight. You know what I'm saying? You hold yourself professional and look how you
Appreciate
show
it.
up and you are very, very, very just articulate. You don't skip a beat. You're very elegant and eloquent with how you speak. So someone like Obama. And if I have any plugs, then I'll be sure to get you plugged in, Chris.
Look at us turning pink. Like, oh man.
Yeah, for sure. As long as you give me Michelle Obama, I'll try to get you Barack Obama.
Yo, I'm gonna share something with you that I've never shared, so I'm giving y'all an exclusive right here. I did actually try to interview President Obama a few times. I did everything I possibly could. The timing just wasn't right. He was
Nice.
obviously he's the president, he's busy, but I have tried. So hey, I'm a shooter. I shoot my shots, and I'm gonna see what I can do.
There you go. That's all it's just a little bit away. So, just a couple more inches and there you go. That's gonna be your interview.
Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing else needs to be asked. Robin Ayers from the Rob Report on the Chris Gunther Show. Cue my theme song. I'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.